Dolan. Join me at 11 on GB News for Headliners, in which I'll be joined by two of the UK's top comedians discussing tomorrow's papers. If it's an important story, we'll cover it, but we'll have some fun along the way. Headliners, the late-night paper review that won't send you to sleep like the others will. 7 nights a week at 11 p.m. on GB News.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
Good evening, I'm Tatiana Sanchez in the GB newsroom. His Majesty King Charles led the Remembrance Sunday service for the first time as sovereign this morning, following the death of his mother, Queen Elizabeth. The King and the Prince of Wales laid a wreath of poppies at the Cenotaph in central London. The wreath incorporated a ribbon which paid tribute to his late mother and grandfather King George by using their horse racing colours. The Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer and former Prime Ministers were also in attendance. 10,000 Royal British Legion veterans representing 300 different members of the armed forces took part in a march to honour the war dead. And a further 10,000 members of the public lined the streets of Whitehall to watch on and pay their respects. Well, the nation fell silent to honour those fallen in the line of duty. Big Ben chimed 11 times at 11 o'clock to mark the start of the nationwide 2-minute silence. Services were held across the country, with bells ringing to commemorate all those who lost their lives. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has joined fellow world leaders at the G20 summit in Indonesia, where he's expected to call out Putin's regime over the war in Ukraine. Mr. Sunak joins the annual gathering and says this year's meeting will not be business as usual, with the focus on how countries can work together to solve global economic and security challenges. President Putin will miss the event and send his Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov instead. Meanwhile, on his way to the G20 summit in Bali, Mr. Sunak told reporters he'll be delivering on the expectations of the financial markets in his autumn budget to avoid further turmoil. He says Chancellor Jeremy Hunt will unveil measures on Thursday that will put our public finances on a sustainable trajectory. It comes after Hunt warned there will be very difficult decisions ahead of the budget announcement. He warned sacrifices need to be made to get the economy back on track. He's thought to be considering a range of options, including an extended freeze on income tax and national insurance thresholds. Labour says further austerity is not the way forward. Well, Conservative MP and former Business Secretary Jacob Rees-Mogg told GB News on the Mark Dolan Tonight Show that tax rises are not the way to go.
If you put taxes up, you risk stalling the economy, so debt to GDP actually goes up. It risks making things worse rather than better. So I would encourage considerable caution about tax rises, and I hope that so far what we've heard has been kite flying to try and frighten the horses a bit, so that when it's announced, everyone heaves a sigh of relief and says, oh, well, thank heavens, it's only a bit of fiscal drag rather than all the great terrors that are being put forward in newspapers at the moment.
Well, you can watch that full interview on the Mark Dolan Tonight Show with Jacob Rees-Mogg on our YouTube channel. TV, online and DAB+ radio, this is GB News. Now it's over to Headliners.
I'm Mark Dolan, and this is Headliners. Many thanks to Tatiana, who returns in an hour's time. Now, joining me to take a first look at tomorrow's papers are the brilliant comedians Josh Howie and Kerry Marks. Now, let's have a quick look at tomorrow's front pages before we get cracking. And we've got the Daily Mail, and it's A&E chief, hospitals harm the elderly. The Telegraph, Russia is a rogue state, Sunak tells G20 leaders. The Guardian leads with the hospitals where a third of patients can't go home. In the Times, new pact with France to stem flow of migrants. In the Express, more tax for all to get through UK choppy waters economically. And finally, The Star and Westminster bubbles. Those are your front pages. OK, Josh, let's have a look at the Express. What have you got?
So, yeah, they are going through basically the taxes that we're all going to be going up for pretty much everybody. That's what Hunt is saying. And he's saying these horrible steps are necessary to get us through some very choppy waters. That's not particularly optimistic outlook. But then he's dealing with a 60 billion black hole, 30 billion, of course, caused by Liz Truss in only a couple of weeks on the job.
I challenge that because this is actually a budget that didn't happen in the end anyway. It was all cancelled.
Well, no, but the point is the damage was made. At least 10 billion was made because of just how much it costs now to borrow money because of our government, because of their failings.
The government borrowing is now back where it was before the
budget.
But
for that time it did.
And of course, but we didn't lose 60 billion pounds in a week.
No, we didn't lose 60 billion, but
30
billion, and 10 billion of that was just from the loans and stuff. So to fix it is a big problem. He's saying, look, it's not going to be all bad news. And then I've read quite deeply, but I haven't found any good news. Massively. But he says, I'm Scrooge, who's going to do things that make sure Christmas is never cancelled. So we are going to get Christmas, we're just not going to get any turkey, and we're all going to have to eat Brussels sprouts. Yeah. That seems to be the gist of it.
We're all stuffed, is what we are.
He says it's going to be the first rabbit-free budget, which I think what he means is there won't be any pulling a rabbit out of a hat, but it might be that we're going to the park and catching rabbits.
Yeah,
so it might be a very busy rabbit Christmas. As we try and fill up. Yeah, so it's... Kwarteng was on Talk TV having an interview, which...
What? We don't mention that. Jeez Louise, I can't believe he just said that word.
I was going to say, he probably did that so that no one saw it.
He was on some... No, OK, that's fine. As long as you diss it...
If you let me finish a sentence, I normally know what I'm doing.
OK, sorry, I apologise.
And he largely just blamed Liz Truss and said that she rushed him on a budget that... on a plan that he would like to have gone slower with, but looks like he's dumping it all on Truss, really.
It seems like a lot of people throwing each other under buses. Kerry, you've got the Times newspaper. What are they leading with?
They're leading with Prince Charles, who, of course, took the Remembrance Sunday. He led the service today, which he's done before, but this is the first time he's done it as king. Which they're making very big news about this. So he's basically done exactly the same job, but this time he did it in a kingly way. And before he was very princely about it, which is very nice. And he said that we're told he looked solemn as he laid a wreath, which is good, isn't it?
It's very solemn in that photo. That's a good solemn...
Yeah, I would have thought solemn was required of him.
That's a kingly photo there, I like that.
For the first time, a wreath was laid on behalf of Queen Camilla by an equerry. Isn't that a horse?
It's a very talented
That's
horse.
A queen.
I believe it's somebody that tends to a horse, isn't it?
Maybe, yeah. Well, why would someone who tends to a horse lay the wreath for her?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's all royal stuff.
We don't have any answers to this, but that's a fact.
Wait a minute, Kerry, you're our royal correspondent.
Yes, I am right now. And
aren't you the guy who broke into their bedroom?
I assure you, I will be looking these things up later on. Big Ben came out of its long silence in order to be silent again, in order to chime the silence. And of course, we had the silence today. A few years ago, I was at a party where someone who's really he always listens to the silence on radio, which I think is lovely. I think it's Radio 4 or something. I know it's a bit odd, but it's very important to him. I remember he stopped the party because he wanted to go onto the radio to hear the silence.
There was a music radio station a few years ago on DAB+, where, of course, you can hear GB News. And this radio station went bust, very sadly. I can't remember what the genre of music was. It was pop music. Anyway, they closed down. But they had to keep the licence going, they had to play something. So they played Birdsong, okay? There was Birdsong, and it was just in a loop, and it was copyright-free, cost them nothing to play it. Anyway, this Birdsong just went out 24/7. Their ratings doubled.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
I have to say, GB News' fastest growing digital station, radio station. Can I just say...
You company boy.
I was in Liverpool this morning for the 11 o'clock thing.
That's a little bit humble brag, isn't it?
Humble brag. But when I was there at the ceremony, and the person who was doing the announcement said, "And now from Her Majesty the King." So they haven't 100% worked out the kinks yet.
Did that really happen?
That really happened this morning. Yeah.
Or is the king transitioned?
Her Majesty the King.
Her Majesty the King. Yes.
Well, that would be very 2022.
Yeah, it was.
So anyway, that...
Do you think, Kerry? Do you think that King Charles has got off to a good start as our monarch?
I don't know what else he's done so far, actually, having what with being the royal correspondent who hasn't followed them at all. He's done that. Has he done anything else?
Well, maybe that's the trick.
Well, actually, I think, yes. I think if he's really going to follow in Queen Elizabeth's footsteps, then keeping out of everything is the trick, yes.
There's another very big story here in the Times, and I'm not talking about why affairs are better for women than for men, though we're desperate to do the deep dive on that.
Bad news for you. Mrs. Howie.
I know. She already knew that.
She's on Tinder as we speak.
Indeed. Please don't give me the pressure. New pact with France to stem flow of migrants. Now, we've been asking for a long time what actually is this government doing apart from the idea of Rwanda, but this is actually finally some sort of concrete news where making a deal with France, between Britain and France, a multi-million-pound security pact.
Why is it always multi-million?
Because
they never do a £1 million deal with anything, ever.
Well, you can't get anything for $1 million nowadays.
Always
it's got to be. So it's going, I think, from 54 to 70 million, and that's going to be increasing. First of all, we're going to have British people on French soil helping France with this stuff, but also the French are going to be like increasing the number of people that they send out to try and stop. The idea is that if they can get it to 75% of people being stopped, that kind of breaks this business model of people being bought over.
Why don't they just give them the 54 million? I mean, I'm sure you can bribe them to go home for a lot less.
That's
than
only
that,
a weekend in the Holiday Inn.
Yep, someone else has stayed at Holiday Inn.
Kerry, what have you got in The Guardian? Oh, sorry, Josh, what have you got in The Guardian?
Oh, I got The Guardian. Well, the big story seems the hospitals where a third of patients can't go home. And obviously, as we're heading into winter now, the fact there's supposedly 13,600 beds across the NHS that have been taken up, and this really goes down to social services, they just don't have the beds necessary to put people into social care, and there's a big funding crisis. So this is partly, obviously, through the cuts over the last 12 years. I mean, and also arguably partially through not being able to sort out our immigration, because a lot of those workers were people who formerly came from Europe, but from wherever they are, there's a serious deficiency of people working in that industry, and it means there's a lot of people who need to make space for what we're assuming is going to be a winter of flu and various other things that happen. So
yep, can't argue with that. That is a concern, isn't it? And NHS in crisis, and Kerry, it's not going to get any better. Luckily, you're a picture of health, so you'll be fine.
Exactly.
And the other big news is and this is actually seems to be the only paper that's covering this on the front, is that at least 6 are dead after a bomb blast in Istanbul. Yeah. This is it's happened Sunday afternoon, very recently. 6 dead, 81 injured. That's so far. Yep. And this is down a very popular pedestrian thoroughfare, Istiklal Avenue in Istanbul. And actually, they had another bomb there, I think, about 6 years ago. And we don't know yet who exactly did it. It's probably either ISIS or Kurdish separatists. And in Turkey, they had a lot of terrorist attacks about 6 years ago. You know, I think a few hundred people died. This seems to be a return to that.
Yeah.
They have said that a woman blew up a bomb, and they've added that they suspect it's an act of terrorism, which I would have thought that's definitely an act of terrorism, right? That's not going to be an act of love, is it? I mean, it's not. There's not many other explanations for it, really. And they said they will follow that person. That person will be found, even if they go to the end of the world. I think they think the world's flat. There's no end, sorry to tell you that. They're saying it's probably a militant something, but it's definitely a militant something. And what's interesting is if it's Kurdish separatists, I wonder how they talk about it on their TV, because they then don't actually say the word Kurd. on,
what do they say?
on the television. They avoid it completely. So,
They're so
I
separate.
think it's like an absolute no-no that you don't. Well, they're not recognised.
It's like using the word woman in Scotland.
Yeah,
They're not allowed to do it anymore.
How about this for you, Carey? Everyone will pay more tax, say Sunak and Hunt. Are you worried about this? You may have to start paying tax at some point.
Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting how they're bringing Sunak into it now, because it was like Hunt, it was Hunt's thing, and now they're trying to spread the blame a little bit. Things like,
yeah. I mean, do you feel overtaxed already, Josh?
well, fortunately, I earn no money, so I've always been very blessed like that. But
You're on TV now. In fact, unfortunately, you've made
we get
it
paid?
at exactly the wrong time in the economic cycle.
I know, this is terrible. If only I'd made it before, as I sort of suffered with like I earned so little money that, you know, when we were getting that sort of the money from the government for being freelance, and I just had, because I hadn't earned any money for years.
But this was a big problem in the pandemic, which is that if you're broke, you're in trouble because you cannot demonstrate to the government that there's an income that needs to be sustained.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a pretty tough couple of years.
But we're seeing strikes beginning to happen all over the place, and of course nurses are talking about going on strike now as well because their pay hasn't gone up in a long time, and at the same time there's way too many people on waiting lists who could be working. So yeah, it's a big mess that we need money in every single direction by the look of it.
Yeah, how do we fix it? You're the Chancellor, Carey, as well as our world correspondent. What is the solution? The issue you've got, there's a sweet spot, isn't there, in terms of taxation, between enough tax to pay for public services, but not too much to damage the economy.
I like the idea that...
Analysis?
I like the idea that Hunt's got. He said the people with the broadest shoulders will bear the heaviest burden. So
yeah, I'll believe that when I see it.
Those broad-shouldered people, they should pay tax on their shoulders.
What are we thinking?
A good shoulder tax. Yeah, totally.
Muscly people. Yeah, general.
And women in 80s clothing with the shoulder pads.
Definitely pick on the women. Yes.
Yeah. The cast of Dynasty.
It's a very good plan.
Working girl.
But do you accept, Carey, that principle that taxes cannot indefinitely get too high? Because my concern is a lot of people just think that all you've got to do is, in inverted commas, tax the rich. But there comes a point where it's counterproductive, in my view.
Oh, no, I think it's great fun, though, isn't it? You know, just put the burden on them.
But then
look, I don't own a house. I'd like to see the economy just collapse completely and everything become very cheap. I'd like to just go back to, you know, prices of last century. So good on it.
Yeah.
I know that's not popular, though, because all the homeowners watching this just want to see it keep going. It can't go up and up. We keep hitting the bubble keeps bursting.
Well, Josh, there are plenty of young people that wouldn't mind a bit of a downward correction in the housing market.
Absolutely, if that's the only chance they're ever actually going to get on the market. Certainly. I mean, I lived with my grandma for, like, my wife and I lived for 5 years trying to save up the deposit, and that was 10 years ago. Yeah. And I think now we you know, you'd have to stay even longer there, which was quite horrible. To be honest, love you, Grandma. She's not here with us anymore. But there's an interesting thing at the top of The Guardian where it says, the Queen of Parts, the 5 best Diana roles on TV and film. And you can't really see it, but it's right at the top. The thing is, there's only 5 films that character's been in. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I agree with that.
I mean, I'm just saying, as you know, we know each other from a film background back in the day.
Correct.
That's what we both used to.
We were both movie experts.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you are.
No, we both are. And I think that's a ridiculous headline there.
It is. It is a bit bonkers, isn't it? How about this in the Daily Star, Carey? And Westminster bubbles, what does this pertain to?
Apparently £265,000 has been spent on cheap champers. That means champagne.
Oh, yeah.
And beer as living costs surge. They say as living costs surge, and then they make it sound like they were celebrating the cost of living going up. Also, I'm not sure whether the complaint is that it was cheap champers, and they're going, well, how did they spend so much on such cheap champers?
Yeah.
It should be, why are they drinking the cheap stuff? So, yes, it's politicians wasting money on at a time when they really shouldn't be, which is always.
Why is there alcohol in the House of Commons?
I can't believe how naive this programme is getting. Seriously?
No, you do wonder. It's a workplace, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, you're right, actually.
You can't get a pint in a hospital, can you? Except pint blood, maybe. Most workplaces haven't got booze in.
No, well, they would argue that...
GBNews is dry.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like bloody Qatar
I'm with this complaint. Sort this out.
But I guess they'd argue that a lot of their work happens behind the scenes and all that stuff. But I agree. But you don't want someone to be drunk during that process. Correct. Do you? That doesn't make any sense.
Also, I don't want to be a killjoy, but I mean, lager is not really a beverage, is it? I understand that they have catering, but bars?
Well,
champagne seems a really odd one to be drinking.
Well, is it champagne? They're saying cheap champers. So I feel like the Star is really sticking to this, like, they can't call it champagne because if it would be actual champagne. So I think they're getting a bit pedantic on the old definitions there of that type of alcohol. You know what I mean? I feel like they'd get in trouble if they said champagne.
Maybe the story's been written by a bitter middle-class person.
Yeah.
Who's horrified that our public figures are drinking Prosecco.
I know.
That's
totally horrible.
Or Tesco Carver.
That's the real story.
It doesn't actually say when they're drinking it, though. This might be in the evenings, sitting around after work or working late.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure whether your daytime point really stands or not.
Here's a question for you, because you're both outstanding circuit comedians, nightclub comedians. Nightclub comedians is how you refer to in America.
Strippers, mate, strippers.
That would do it. Does alcohol and work mix?
For comedy, yes. Oh, the new trend amongst comedians is drinking water and soft drinks, and I do not like what that's encouraging at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the person who had a heart attack just before his gig.
Absolutely. That was after a gig.
That was after a gig, wasn't it?
I'm a professional. I don't have a heart attack before a gig.
Oh, yeah, you wait.
I wait till afterwards, and that's...
You might have had a heart attack at a gig, right? You should have seen the audience.
That was one crazy night.
Yeah. No, never drink before a gig. Because the trick of comedy is just to be more sober than the audience. And then you seem like, oh, wow, that person's really on it. No, I'm just I'm just sober.
Quick question, a booze ban for politicians or not?
Yeah, just get on with doing your job. I don't know why they're spending nearly, £250,000 on champagne and whatnot, and that's not including, by the way, Boris's parties. Hey, got that in there.
No fun for them until they behave better.
Yes,
definitely. Well, look, we're all off for a couple of glasses of Tesco Carver, but coming up we have lockdown raves, AI police, and yet another reason to switch off Alexa, but not this show. See you shortly.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation find its voice. We are here for you on radio, television, and online, across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
My name's Tom Harwood, and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today. I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked. Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Every Friday and Sunday night from 9, it's Mark Dolan Tonight.
We're on the same page again. There's something weird happening.
Let Ian finish. Don't be such a cranky. That mini budget was the tip of the iceberg. And on Saturday, my show just got bigger. From 8, it's Mark Dolan's Saturday Night In.
You can't govern a country if you can't speak. Stop talking.
My God, we reached the end. I've never been early in my life. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Arlene Foster, for The Briefing on GB News. Every Friday at 3 p.m, I'll give you all the latest political news and analysis, and we'll have robust live debate. To make sure that you're caught up on all of the biggest issues of the day, we'll bring on experts in their field. I'll ask the questions that you'd like to ask. We're not afraid to tackle discussions from all perspectives, including yours. Don't forget, The Briefing with me, Arlene Foster, every Friday at 3 p.m. on GB News.
We are GB News, right across the nation. You can get us on television, on radio, on digital. We're absolutely everywhere.
Amazing. You see, amazing.
You remind me of me in the European Parliament. But here's the most important bit. We are not part of the mainstream establishment. We think and speak just like you do. We are the People's Channel.
Magnificent. That's really, really thoughtful.
Come and join us on GB News, the People's News Channel.
I'm Mark Dolan, and this is Headliners, your first look at tomorrow's papers. Tonight in the company of the hugely talented comedians Josh Howie and, come on, Tom, and also Kerry Marks. Brilliant stuff. Great to have both of you with me, two of my absolute favourite comedians. Let's take a look deeper inside the papers. And we begin with the Daily Mail. And Josh, are you going to start watching what you say around Alexa?
Yeah, I already do. When it's on in the kitchen, and I just feel like I feel its presence there all the time. You see the little ring going.
For those that don't know, it's not your Romanian housemate.
No, it's a speaker that basically is connected to the internet. Alexa is the Amazon one, and it's subsidised. I think there's 65 million around the world or something.
It does everything around the house.
Yeah, it does things around the house. It connects, but it also, like, if you say, Alexa, play this song, or whatever, Alexa, what time is it, or whatever it is.
You could say, what's the weather going to be like tomorrow?
Alexa, do you love me? My children spend the whole time saying, Alexa, do a fart noise, and then it tries to sell them extra fart noises. Okay, did you like that? Here, for 79p, you can buy the whole package. Yeah. Anyway, so they're always.
Is your relationship with Alexa better than your relationship with your wife?
I have called my wife Alexa in intimate moments because she does what I want. Anyway, so. Ouch, yeah. She's not watching, it's fine. But Alexa is, hi Alexa, she'll probably switch on. Alexa may be hearing this right now, and then, Alexa, play this song, and then she'll go, play Kanye West. No. Anyway, that's the latest story. Right, what has happened here is, because Alexa's constantly connected to the internet, this person, serial offender Aaron Herschel, he was jailed in 2017 for attempted rape, but what he did when he got out of prison was he then hooked up his speaker to an acquaintance's speaker and then would use that to listen to her conversations and basically to spy on her. So he is the first person in the UK to be convicted of using an Alexa device to snoop on his victim, and this has been picked up upon by Tory MP Julian Knight. He's part of a Westminster Select
Who was listening
committee.
to him, listening
yes,
to the
he was
other
listening
person.
to exactly. They're listening right now on a different thing, and he's holding an inquiry into the growing use of and possible misuse of smart technology. That's interesting. What's also interesting is a story that's been totally buried within this and sort of vaguely mentioned, where it sort of mentions near the end of it, Herschel, who previously identified as a female. Now, what's interesting about this story is this person went to jail, like I said, in 2017 for attempted rape. When he was in jail, a man's jail, he said, I'm a woman. What did they do? They went, OK, let's put you in a woman's jail. He got out of jail, he went, oh, you know what, I'm a man again. And then he went on to then start stalking somebody else. So that story is vaguely pointed to, but I happen to know the deeper story because of stuff online and seeing feminists talking in Scotland where this happened and stuff like that. That's as big, if not as big a story, I think.
It's a scandal, and it makes a mockery of the woke ideology that has entered our prisons now.
Well, I think wherever you stand on the ideology, though, wherever people stand, they've got to realise that in prison there's going to be people who will abuse the system.
Yeah,
I mean,
of course.
That's the thing. There was a prison guard who was part of a panel deciding who should go into women's prisons and so on, trans women and so on. But they found that a lot of men in prisons who identify as female don't actually ask to go into the women's prisons. But obviously, a lot of people wanting to take advantage of a situation will do that.
And criminals, maybe even more so.
But I think that's what the whole story's about. Is that there's a point where this is Mr. Knight, the chairman of the Digital Culture, Media and Sports Committee, said he's talking about the technology here, which is the same as what we're saying about the rule. Is that the technology is open to abuse, which I think that's a phrase we're hearing a lot now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Basically, every new thing you come up with, there's some pervert working out how he can use it. But even then...
And it's interesting that you said how he can use it. Because the reality is 98% of those perverts are men. And that's the reality of it, which is why women need their own spaces.
Also, men with a lot of time on their hands, because to listen to someone else's Alexa, just for the odd, I don't know what noises you're waiting for over many, many hours, but that sounds incredibly tedious, doesn't it?
Yeah,
that's someone who's really working for it.
You think he deserves it?
No, I'm not saying. I am not saying that he earned it. I'm just saying I don't even understand the mentality of that alone.
I have to listen to my wife's conversations 24/7, and let me tell any stalkers out there, it ain't worth it.
Don't tune in.
Don't bother.
Yeah, don't do it when you have to. They've also said, though, that the Amazon boss who came up with this said the initiative, the device was intended to replicate the Starship Enterprise onboard computer, which is where it originally came from. But what he could have done with listening to it was HAL from 2010, the computer which goes completely mental from bad programming.
2001, one of the greatest
2001,
films ever made.
First one, yeah.
Absolute classic. It should be
great one.
It should be boring because nothing happens, but it's absolutely spellbinding, and you're on the edge.
The slowness of everything really captures that. I think it was the first Kubrick, wasn't it? The first one to really capture what might be a feeling of being in space.
It was a work of genius and very prescient.
Yes.
Now, Carey, do you worry about the encroachment of technology in your own life? Do you feel spied upon? Is it a concern?
I don't tend to use things like Alexa and have it on all the time.
I was told recently that even your phone is listening to you.
Yes. Yeah, I remember a friend of mine was joking about that and was saying to me, yes, you know, your phone is listening to you right now. Like if I was saying, and he just said, I can't say on the television programme, but he said a whole load of truly awful things and the phone could be listening to you right now. And then realising that as he had said that, of course, he'd been holding his phone next to him and was probably now on a list somewhere.
Now getting ads.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
But it is creepy, isn't it, what your phone picks up? Do you worry about this, Josh?
Well, I'm fortunate because I'm very boring. So I'm safe.
You've got nothing to hide, sadly.
I mean, we've all got stuff to hide, but I feel like mine's pretty low on the scale, so I feel pretty safe.
We've talked about this before on the programme. It's where we're going. I honestly think this is inevitable. I think very soon there will be recording devices just everywhere, and everything we say is going to be processed.
There you go.
It's not dystopian, it's coming.
Okay. In that case, Alexa, let's move on to our next story. That was clever, wasn't it? And we've got the Times now. And, Carey, it looks like we've taken one step closer to Tom Cruise's Minority Report.
Yeah, funny, after I just said that, new AI...
New AI.
What is AI,
I refuse to even say it properly.
Artificial intelligence.
And what does that mean?
It means it's not human intelligence. It's not
artificial.
organic.
So it's basically machines and software.
Yes. You knew this, though, didn't you?
I did.
You were doing a presenter thing of
I was
pretending.
doing that
or did you
presenter
actually
thing.
not know?
I was doing it for probably my drunk uncle that doesn't know what we're on about.
I'm glad you're thinking of
I was
it.
doing that for Uncle Steve.
Okay.
The new AI will detect thugs on trains before they even attack.
Wow.
So it's going to recognise thug behaviour. Hopefully it will go much further and recognise people playing music loudly and other annoying, like, mob singing on trains and so on, and maybe even when the bus replacement's going to happen instead of a train. That would be good. But I suppose there's problems with this in that it could be seen as stupid. They're assuring... They're paying an assurance right now that no human sees videos straight away until they get alerted that something is going on, which seems odd because at that point we're all used to cameras on trains, aren't we? I don't think we.
Yeah, and people
really
are watching them anyway.
anymore.
CCTV footage when you're walking through town centres and whatnot. We're not like, oh my God, is anybody watching me? I hope people are watching. Keep you safe.
Yeah. Do you feel that you can anticipate someone's behaviour by their body language?
I think you sometimes get a feel that someone's squaring up and looking dangerous, yeah. But I wonder what they're going to do, because the problem isn't just being aware of it. It's having... Are they going to have police everywhere anyway? In which case they don't really... I'm feeling it right now.
You're getting something from my body language. Is it sexual or is it...
I actually feel like you're about to kiss me, which is really intimidating, by the way.
That was exactly the feeling that I was trying to put out there with my body language.
What are they going to do? They're going to have police everywhere, or are they going to just have a member of staff or the train driver go running in? Because that's not going to happen.
Genius about it is it's going to do an automatic system, so it's going to alert the watchers, whoever they are.
You seem to know.
Human being. No, but what they're also going to do is they're going to play an announcement saying, hello, if there's anything going on in carriage B, just to let you know people have been alerted, which goes into that thing, you know, like in petrol forecourts.
People will ignore it.
No, they don't ignore it. That's the thing. In petrol forecourts, you know that they put, like, big, giant, life-size cutouts of police people, of police women or men or whatever, that by itself has been proven to drop crime by like 50%.
Just because we're afraid of cutouts. Cutouts are really disturbing.
What, paper cuts?
Yeah, I don't like them.
Oh dear, that.
I do find the papier-mâché police officer at Tesco is quite intimidating.
Yes.
I've been doing a lot less stealing since he arrived.
So you go to Tesco's to steal. Why not Waitrose?
Because they can afford it. Waitrose are, you know what I mean? Waitrose are struggling, let's be honest. All those middle-class people have been taxed now. They're broke. We'll all be at Aldi within the week, let me tell you. Moving on to The Guardian, and are lockdown fines racist? Josh, quite a serious story, this one.
Yeah, people of colour more likely to be fined for lockdown raves, data shows. Now, there's more than a third. There were 441 fines given out in England and Wales for amplified music events. And a third of those went to black, Asian and mixed-raced people. Now, this information came out under Freedom of Information to the National Police Chiefs Council. And this was from March 2020 to July 2021. Now, I'm trying to do the maths here, but essentially, black, Asian and mixed-race people make up about 15% of the overall UK population.
Yeah.
But it seems like if it's a third, they accounted for a third of those offences. So either they were being twice as racist in terms of specifically going to effect, or black, Asian and mixed-race people had twice as many illegal parties during that time. Or is it a bit of both? I don't know. But one figure there is certainly, that's not indicative.
It's a red flag that this could be prejudice.
Systematic racism.
It might well be systematic racism. It's always difficult to know with the numbers, but and I don't really think it's helpful to constantly have that. I know people who feel like the police are racist, full stop, all police are racist. I've known police who are, wouldn't make friends with them, obviously, but I've known a few.
Not with your lifestyle.
There's a comedian we know who's become a policeman.
Yeah, Alfie, he's a nice guy.
She's a nice person who
comedians
is not racist. But at the same time, is there racism amongst the police? Yes, I would say there certainly is, and there seems to be lots of evidence of it. But we've got this constant fine line because like what happened with all the rape gangs in the UK, is sometimes the police are so busy overcompensating, not wanting to be racist, that they end up ignoring lots of crimes.
Yeah.
So, I think the only answer really is to get more black people and ethnic minorities into the police.
Yeah.
Who know their own communities
and away from race.
Also, do you not think that the people that had raves during lockdown should actually receive money because they did not sign up to this crazy narrative that's destroyed our economy? Should we not thank them?
Well, it's not just that, but I remember seeing one person had a party, and I believe this person was mixed race. I remember seeing she got, I think, a £10,000 fine, and it was like for having a birthday party in a garden or something like that. And it was like at the same time
absolutely for
as. I'm sorry to go back to the stuff that dominated for months. It's so boring now. But as Boris Johnson was having those parties and all that stuff, and then someone else living on. It's getting a £10,000 fine for exactly the same behaviour.
I mean, I would have an amnesty for all of those people, and I'd give them their money back.
I'm a big fan of lockdowns. I don't really like people. Bubbles for everyone is my thing. So I like. It did say that they make a point here. 4 cellists walking into a park to play music together wouldn't be seen as a threat, but 4 or 5 black kids rapping over a track on their phones might be. Which I've never seen 4 cellists walking into a park and being at all suspicious. So I don't know whether that makes me a bit
what have they got
racist. I know that's what I was thinking as I was saying it. Is that a cello case is actually a really good hiding spot for a gun or for for drugs or anything else. So maybe I should be more suspicious.
4 cellists walking into a park, that is base behaviour. Actually, it's double base.
But it sounds like the beginning of a joke. Okay.
He did it.
Does the programme carry on after that or not?
Not really. That's all I've got. I've done my best. I've done all my gear. This from The Times. What happens when a trans woman gets sick in Scotland? Kerry.
Now, this is Scottish hospitals warned over isolating trans women. And it comes as ministers have asked health boards around the country to explain how they accommodate trans patients. Now, this is to do with female-only spaces. And I believe at the moment, from what I understand here, is that because they don't really want to deal with it, so people who say they are trans women are getting the private room. Is that right? So it's an odd kind of advantage, really.
Well, this is someone from NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde saying that if a trans woman is given a personal room, then that in itself could be discriminatory.
Right. It's discrimination for them to get the private room.
Yeah, this is what someone in the NHS, but that's, I believe, is a misread. It is an advantage, but it's also that person willfully misreading the Equality and Human Rights Commission, which, when they say gender, they're talking about single-sex rights, not what you identify as. Yeah. So I think that's a willful misreading by NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde. Yeah. And we had this horrible story about a few months ago where a woman was raped on an NHS single-sex ward, said that she was raped, and then the NHS said, no, there's no way, there were no men on the ward, it's impossible this happened. She managed to finally, after a year, get the CCT footage, proving that there was a trans woman, a biologically intact man on the ward, and finally, only after a year, did the police then step in to investigate it. So when things like that are happening, and the NHS are doing these kind of cover-ups and stuff, it's disgraceful.
It is. It's an appalling miscarriage of justice for that individual woman, and an example of how the world's lost its mind. Let's now get to our break, but lots more to come. In part 3, for the final section of the show, we talk woke biscuits, woke comedians, and there's a new brain box in town. See you shortly.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and TuneIn apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Hello, I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m, where I'll be joined by 2 of the country's top comedians as we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight. If it's a big story, we'll be covering it, I guarantee, but we'll also have some fun along the way. That's GB News Headliners at 11 p.m. We won't put you to sleep, unlike some of the other paper review shows out there. So join us, 11 p.m, 7 nights a week.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime. With the public services under unbearable strain, why are we still failing to control our borders? Defence, the first priority of any government, has been continually hollowed out. Can we trust our politicians to protect the armed forces? Join me, Mark White, on GB News.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. There's never been a more interesting but also critical time in British politics, and I can't wait to bring you the biggest stories of the day with the best factual accuracy and also a few of my own opinions thrown in. We'll engage in passionate but always polite debate with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Monday to Thursday, 10 till 12 on TV, on radio and online.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here. You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Deebs & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Stein. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
On the Mark Stein Show, we cover the stories a lot of people are scared even to mention. The stuff that really matters with some of the world's biggest thinkers.
Now is his opportunity to kind of take the steering wheel of history.
Break away from the flop at 8 o'clock on GB News with the Mark Stein Show.
We are GB News.
And we'd like to say thank you
to each and every one of you
for helping our great nation
find its voice.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Across England,
Scotland,
Wales and Northern Ireland.
On TV,
on radio
and online.
We're proud to be the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel. I'm Mark Dolan, and welcome back to Headliners, your first look at tomorrow's papers. Tonight, I'm joined by the reassuringly expensive comedians Josh Howie and Carey Marks. Lads, great to have you. We're having a lot of fun, lots of stories to get through in this section. Monday's Times first, and Carey, if they made a film about your life, what would it be called?
It would not be called The Terminal. I'll tell you that for free, because that, coincidentally, is what our next story is about. But it's not about The Terminal, it's about the film that the person... Jump would say this it's not even that late at night
I think your film's be called The Confused.
There was a film I never saw called, which I believe you guys have seen, called The Terminal. And the guy who the film was about has died.
You got there.
He
got there.
Yes, I know, but we're talking about someone who died, and I'm now smiling.
Bloke winds up living in an airport terminal, and Tom Hanks makes a movie about it.
He lived at a red plastic bench in Terminal 1. That was his address. Like, all the posts you would get was written to red plastic bench in Terminal 1. And he has now died. He has gone to the final terminal in the sky. He is waiting there right now with Ryanair angels weighing his bags. And in a very long queue.
Oh, my gosh.
You sure that's not hell? It does sound pretty awful.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah. He's airside now.
Yes. He did say that in Shaking Mental Health...
He has boarding passed.
Oh, my God. I don't know. How do you come up with...
What's happened?
Respect.
You're making fun of some hero. Is he I never saw the film. Is he a hero?
He seemed like a nice guy, but it was fiction.
I'm not done yet.
No, but he's not fiction,
He's got more.
Come
on, David.
Real.
David Brent wants to finish his thing. Come on.
He's checked out.
I'm not joining in.
He's in the hold.
I don't want to get this reputation.
He's punched the ticket.
That'll do it.
Yeah, all right, there we go.
But yeah, so do we know why you wound up in this terminal in the first place?
Yes, he wanted to be in a film. He thought it'd be really nice in my life with a pitch, yeah. Apparently, he really wanted to come to England, to Britain, which it's funny how so many people want to go to this country we're constantly told is rubbish, isn't it? Why don't we, if we actually made this country as rubbish as everyone thinks it is, then we wouldn't have any problem with so many people wanting to come in all the time.
Well, you just solved immigration,
I've solved it. So, yeah, from the money he made from the film, he was able to live in shelters and hotels, but surely he would have made more money from the film than that, wouldn't he?
It's not, no.
But the film is made about you?
It seems like it's a bit of a sad ending, because he actually seems like he had mental health issues, and he actually ended up returning back to Terminal 2F instead a couple of months ago, and they'd find him he wouldn't talk to people, he'd just be sitting in the same space.
So you've just done a whole load of puns about someone with mental health issues who died today?
I feel very bad.
I think Mark was the person who did all those puns, actually.
Yeah, I'm looking at Mark.
Yeah.
But do you know there's a real reason why I'm so personally engaged with this story, which is that I would quite like to live at Gatwick South Terminal.
No, you wouldn't, would you?
Yeah.
Why?
It's got a...
It's where you lost your virginity,
It's
isn't
the
it?
Gatwick Village. I mean, it's a great place to raise your kids.
He joined the On the Ground Club. the No Miles High Club.
Bravo. Yeah. It's got flagship WH Smith.
OK.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't get better.
You got Pret, you got Currys.digital, tax-free. What's not to like?
I cannot think of anything worse than spending time in an
without
airport.
sounding like a middle-aged man. The best bit of my holiday...
No, there's no... Mate, you've crossed that line.
That ship has passed. Yeah. The best bit of our holidays as a family is the airport.
Well, it's like the Louis C.K. bit where he says he packs the car, and then as he walks around the car to get into the other side, he says, "That's my holiday."
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. Now you're talking. Let's take a holiday from that story and move on to our next offering. And this is in the Daily Mail. This is Monday's Mail. And Josh, I guess you can't imagine biting this person's genitals anymore.
Well, I was already a bit baffled by the way you linked into let's go off this holiday, let's take a holiday into this story. Anyway, but it was good, it's good. Yes, Morrison's takes the biscuit for wokery. This is from Daily Mail. As the supermarket chain rebrands treats gingerbread person. Gingerbread people or men or women or whatever, they've been around 200 years. Morrison's are now giving it a gender-neutral makeover. Now, they're not the first people to do this. I believe it was actually the Scottish Parliament's coffee shop started 2018. They were ahead of the weight curve. Interestingly, some people have tried to get out of it by going on a sort of left or right tangent where they've got... So Pret a Manger is actually calling them gingerbread biscuits. They don't want to commit themselves to this travesty. But weirdly, Tesco's, who now has gingerbread people, but they've got mini gingerbread men. So I imagine it's OK to call them men if they're mini and non-threatening.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Is it just me, but the best part of those biscuits has always been the man's penis?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
it's nice to be not intimidated by it as well. Is that the licorice
getting a bit of extra biscuit on your biscuit?
When I get the gingerbread man,
the
first thing I go for is the old tackle.
Really?
And does that make you question
your area?
Does that make you question?
I have wondered. I wondered why I
question
always...
your sexuality?
Why I always #jumped the tackle. I don't know why that's always been my thing. Can I just say that this is also ridiculous? It is a gingerbread man. It always was. Why did we get rid of that?
Yeah, but you can't just have gingerbread men. It's the same with the snowman, really, isn't it? Where are the snow women? And it's because it takes longer to make them. When they melt,
More snow.
Kind of lose everything. Yeah, more snow involved. But why do only snowmen get the job? You know?
Yeah.
I think it's a really serious complaint, and I can understand people getting very upset about this kind of stuff. But it's also, why ginger? Why does ginger stay? Ginger is also offends lots of people, right?
I've got 4 ginger kids.
Yeah.
You know, this is disgusting. It should be called... What should they call it? Just biscuit people.
Well,
Something
no,
like that.
because it's, you know, if you talk about humans, that's rude to other species, isn't it?
True.
Ginger
organisms
in Australia they're called rangers, aren't they? It's, so they get quite a lot of prejudice themselves.
Is that right?
Happening. They get called rangers, and it's well, you know, ginger is really because we consider them to be redheaded, and this is because do you know this is because the word orange actually comes from the fruit. The fruit came first, so we don't say orange heads because we just didn't know how to say that, so we went with redheads. And for any redheads watching, here's an interesting fact. The scientists I don't know how they discover these things, that the Neanderthals were ginger, right? And they all died out because the Homo sapiens wouldn't have sex with them.
Is that right?
I think it went something like that, yeah.
That's because the Homo sapiens didn't have beer.
Yeah, exactly. Even hundreds of thousands of years ago, we were still just as prejudiced.
Well, I didn't know that, but all of this is caused because they were getting, in the name of inclusivity, after getting complaints from shoppers. And I just think, what kind of person is shopping at Morrison's and getting, like, worked up? I'm going to write in a complaint because it's gingerbread man. I mean,
maybe the same people that complained about spotted dick, which apparently was a thing, that had to be changed at the House of Commons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a serious condition.
There were people with spotted penises who just got very upset.
OK. We allowed to say that word?
Well,
upset.
I'm looking at you. OK,
you
brilliant.
can say anything. You won't be censored on my watch.
Thank you.
Very briefly, Josh, this is a serious question at the end of all that levity. Is there a systemic and cultural effort to get rid of gender altogether?
Yes, there is. I mean, look, I don't think people are sitting there going, OK, what's our next target? Gingerbread people. But of course, but the funny thing is actually gingerbread people is what's been used in classrooms to try and educate people as to the sex spectrum. And it's all about, so they've been using the gingerbread man as an icon of discussing this matter and to try and basically brainwash kids into thinking that there are more than 2 sexes.
Yeah, and the idea of 2 biological sexes has served us quite well for, what, a couple of million years?
We're doing pretty good with it.
Yeah.
Even with spotted dick.
Let's see how it plays out when we rewrite the rules. Can we talk now about Joe Lycett, a fellow comedian? Kerry, what's he been up to? Independent.
He's told David Beckham that he's going to shred £10,000 if he doesn't pull out of the World Cup deal. So David Beckham had all that kudos after queuing to see the Queen in state for 10 hours or whatever it was, and now he's under fire from a few different people actually because of his role with the World Cup. And what Joe's saying, and I'm not going to make fun of another comedian, by the way, ever. Whatever they do is fine by me, but within reason. But
didn't you get the memo that comedians are allowed to attack each other these days?
Totally. Are they?
No, they're attacked. No, it's just you they're allowed to attack.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's fair enough, if I'm honest.
He said, if you end your relationship with Qatar, I will donate this £10,000 of my own money as a grand for every million you're reportedly getting to charities that support queer people in football. However, if you do not, by midday next Sunday, I will throw this money into a shredder just before the opening ceremony of the World Cup. So, which is also very gay, by the way. He's not going to just burn it because that would make a mess. It's going very neatly done into a shredder. It'll probably been underneath and so on. I don't know why he's throwing the money away rather than giving more money to charity. Because they'll have 10,000 if you abandon it, and 20,000 if you No, the other way around, 20,000 if you abandon the idea. So that would be a nice thing to do. I don't think anyone's going to really enjoy watching him throwing away £10,000 to make a point.
No, I mean, look, he's a very, very popular comedian these days, Joe Lycett, and he's very good at making noise, isn't he? And he's very good at these stunts.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what he does rather than write jokes as such. I mean, I like Joe, but yeah, he basically...
I like Joe.
That's what
He's a good lad.
He is a good lad, but this is his art.
It's his shtick.
This is his shtick, and it works. And I guess he would argue, or you would argue that he's making a point, and I do think David Beckham is being, I wouldn't say like a hypocrite as such, but I don't think it's a moral thing to take that money.
He didn't choose to be a gay icon, did he? He doesn't owe the gay community something in that respect. And it's also the football team. Our football team are going over there to play football. I don't see why all the owners should be on Beckham for it, you know.
Well, he's the one who's just been given £10 million. I mean, that is quite a lot of money.
Yeah, sure, but they're all going to be making a large amount of money from playing football.
Yeah, but they're not... They're going to play football. He's been hired quite specifically to promote a homophobic state.
It'd be interesting to see what happens with this because, you know, the state itself is... Obviously, what's interesting about the whole thing is a load of corruption has gone into the decision in the first place. That's really where the problem is. But as far as playing in Qatar, they're going to want to avoid scandal. And we're either going to see a large number of arrests of football fans coming from all over the world behaving in ways that aren't acceptable in Qatar, or they're going to have to avoid scandal and turn a blind eye to a whole lot of behaviour that the country is against. So that could also be quite interesting. And our football team are going to be taking the knee again. Which is going to be kind of bizarre to...
Are they really?
Yeah, I've heard this. I'm sure I'm right about this. They'll be taking the knee in Qatar, which seems like taking an argument or, you know...
Is it 15,000 people died, but 6,000 built in the stadium and 15,000...
Well, but really they should be doing something about gay rights and taking both knees.
Oh, that kind of talk will get you cancelled. Carey and Josh, brilliant
I didn't actually say that.
Headliners is back tomorrow at 11. I'll see you on Friday at 9.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
We are GB News.
And we'd like to say thank you
to each and every one of you
for helping our great nation
find its voice.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Across England, Scotland, Wales
and Northern Ireland.
On TV,
on radio
and online.
We're proud to be
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club. Oh, my goodness, brilliant. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
On the Mark Steyn Show, we cover the stories a lot of people are scared even to mention. The stuff that really matters with some of the world's biggest thinkers.
Now is his opportunity to kind of take the steering wheel of history.
Break away from the flock at 8 o'clock on GB News with the Mark Steyn Show.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Hello, I'm Alastair Stewart, and I'd invite you to join me at noon on Saturdays and Sundays for Alastair Stewart and Friends. I've been in this business for over 40 years. Now, here at GB News, I've never been happier. I get to choose the big stories that really interest me. We hear what you have to say, and you hear what I have to say. I really hope you can join me. Noon on Saturdays and Sundays.
I'm Mark Dolan. Join me at 11 on GB News for Headliners, in which I'll be joined by two of the UK's top comedians discussing tomorrow's papers. If it's an important story, we'll cover it, but we'll have some fun along the way. Headliners, the late night paper review that won't send you to sleep like the others will. 7 nights a week at 11 p.m. on GB News.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
The Irish government's new hate speech bill causes a stir, British Airways goes gender neutral, and in the US midterm elections, the promised red wave just doesn't appear. This is Free Speech Nation. Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Andrew Doyle. So this is a show where we delve into culture and politics and find out what lunacy those social justice activists have been up to this week. They never fail to disappoint. Coming up, maths is racist, apparently. I've got an interview with Dr. John Armstrong, reader in financial mathematics at King's College London, about new guidance insisting that maths ought to be decolonised. I'll also be talking to barrister Sarah Phillimore, who is suing Eventbrite for pulling ticket sales of her book launch because, well, she believes there are differences between men and women. Burn the witch. I'll also be discussing the excesses of environmental activism with the editor of Spiked, Tom Slater, and I'll be looking at the US midterm elections and their implications. Is it time for Ron DeSantis? Are Biden and Trump finished? I'm going to be joined by the chair of Republicans Overseas UK, Greg Swenson, and former spokesperson for the Clinton and Bush White House, Robert Weiner. But before we get on to any of that, please welcome my panellists for the evening, the comedians Francis Foster and Tobias Pearson. Tobias is over from Sweden. You're already in the country. Why are you here? What are you doing here?
I've got papers. It's fine. It's not an invasion. You can relax. I'm just here to experience the tube strikes and the knife crime.
I don't think the Tories are worried about the Swedes. If I'm honest.
Think so?
No, I don't. You're sort of, you know, you're like Vikings.
I'm fairly
like Vikings. But...
Yeah, I'm fairly polite. Yeah,
you're polite.
Yeah, I'm just here to see you, of course.
That's the only reason you've come over.
Yeah.
Well, and I've roped you onto my show. Perfect.
Yeah, thank you. It
Not
works.
doing any gigs while you're here? Not doing any.
Well, I did a gig yesterday.
How was it?
People laughed. I went home. That's good.
That's a good gig.
That's a good gig. Yeah.
What about you, Francis? You're actually touring, I believe.
I am on tour at the moment.
Yeah.
I actually, I think the first time we met, I actually got signed by a very big comedy agent who told me, "Stick with me, son. I'm going to make you a star." So anyway, on Tuesday, I played to 42 people in Bradford.
That's why you get the agents.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually woke up the next day and I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to treat myself to a little bit of breakfast to, you know, take the taste of out of my mouth of the gig. So I put in, where is the best place to eat breakfast in Bradford? And Google gave me one-word answer:
Leeds.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, actually, 42 in an audience, that's not so bad for some comedy. If you've done the Edinburgh Fringe...
Yeah, exactly. That's a
full house.
Yeah.
And the average audience at the Edinburgh Fringe, I think, is 6.
Yeah.
It's really depressing, isn't it? You've done...
6, yeah. Some of them alive, which is good, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes. I've actually seen you at the Edinburgh Fringe, but...
I did the Fringe, I did one show for like 25 Italians. Afterwards, I said, did you enjoy the show? Nothing.
Yeah.
They just stared.
You're quite declamatory, you gesticulate quite a lot, so I think they probably just enjoyed the movement.
I did this. Past that. An hour.
They probably thought it was a more sort of avant-garde dance piece that you were doing. Anyway, got to get some questions from the audience. We've got a question first from Mary. Mary, hello.
Is Elon Musk leading Twitter to disaster?
Is Elon Musk leading Twitter to disaster? Well, lots of people would say so. So, of course, Elon Musk took over the company and he keeps changing his mind about all sorts of things. He said at first that for the blue check, which is the verification tick that you get when you're relatively well known, that you would have to pay $8 a month. And then people complained, and then he took it away, and then he doesn't know what he's doing, does he?
No, but the thing is that this has actually been brilliant for comedy. I don't know if you've seen this, because loads of people have been verified, then changed their names to products like Coca-Cola or people like Ben Shapiro. So someone changed their name to Ben Shapiro and then went, I just want to feel the soft, sweet touch of a woman's hand.
Yes, they did. They also changed, they made their own account, the Coca-Cola account, and said Pepsi is better.
Yeah.
And of course, when you put that out with the blue tick, it looks like the official account. You know, you had George W. Bush, official blue tick. I miss killing Iraqis. You know, and Blair said, me too, mate.
Yeah. Exactly. That's fantastic.
No, the best, did you see the O.J. Simpson one? Was not going to lie, I definitely did it.
Yeah. And of course, this was the whole point of the verification tick system. The whole point of the tick was that you knew it would be real, so that people couldn't impersonate famous people and get them in trouble. But they didn't.
You got a blue tick, right? And you got a blue tick?
I've got a blue tick. I don't know why, really, but I've got a blue tick. But who's going to impersonate me? I mean, why would they want to do that?
Because you're interesting and... you're on telly.
But the thing is, Tobias, they had this system which should have worked, and I think the reason it stopped working is that Twitter changed what the verification thing meant. Because ultimately, all it ended up meaning is that these are the people we like.
Yeah.
You know, they're not necessarily well known. And then there were even people paying like thousands of dollars to get a verification tick, and then Musk comes in and says, actually, £8 a month. That must have been gutting for them.
But, I mean, Musk has actually been very honest, and he says, look, we've taken over this business, we're going to try and we're going to try and do things a little bit fairer, and as a result, we're going to mess things up, which is what happens when you take over any business or you build a business from the ground up. So I think people to then start pointing fingers and going, oh, they're making mistakes, they're doing this wrong and doing that wrong. Of course they're going to do things wrong.
No, but, Francis, a bit of planning, though. Like, because of this verification issue, he decided he would put on an official tick. So you've got the blue tick, but then underneath it says official. And that appeared, I saw it on Ricky Gervais's account. Official. 4 hours later, it's gone. Yeah. And Musk tweets, I killed it. Yeah. So he's not he's deciding on the hoof. He doesn't really know what he's doing, does he?
Is that the real Musk, though?
Well, exactly. Well, the other thing is, a number of people have impersonated Elon Musk, and he's just deleted those accounts.
What's her name? The comedian?
Kathy Griffin. Yeah. He actually deleted Kathy Griffin's account for impersonating Musk.
Yeah, and she had like 6 million followers or something.
Something like that. What was really tragic is she went then on her dead mother's account to complain about it.
Really?
It's all very grim. It's all very macabre. But anyway, yes, Musk is... Do you know what? I don't care, because Twitter needed a shake-up.
Yeah, and look, I think if Elon bought Twitter for $44 billion and then canned it, that would help humanity.
I think that's what he should do.
That's what he should genuinely do.
Let's have a question now from Stephen. Where's Stephen? Hello.
Hi. Do you think Rishi Sunak, will manage to win re-election?
Pronounced his name as well as Biden. I think Biden called him Rashid Sunak. Yeah. Which no one picked up as being really racist.
No.
But, you know, that's the Democrats.
It's Swedish. It means old man.
Oh, does it? OK. Well, this is a good question, though, because there's been a report that's come out by the More in Common initiative, which suggests that Rishi Sunak could struggle to replicate Boris Johnson's 2019 electoral success. And this is all about the red wall and the blue wall. And I mean, look, the point is that Boris managed to coax all of these industrial Labour heartlands to lend him their votes because of Brexit, right? But Sunak doesn't really have that clout. I mean, he's the richest man. He's richer than the king, right?
Mm-hmm.
So can he connect to the industrial heartlands of Labour? What do you think?
What do you think?
I'm going to say no.
No, I don't think so. The problem is British politics at the moment is kind of like watching West Ham when we're in the Championship. Stay with me, right? Okay.
Is West Ham a team?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, yeah. It's not part of the... It's not something you get from the butcher.
Just imagine something like... you like musicals. Imagine a really badly written musical, all right?
I don't have to. I've written some of them.
OK. So it's basically like watching West Ham play another really rubbish team where no one deserves to win, but someone kind of has to. Do you see what I mean?
Must.
And yes. Yeah. And that...
So are you suggesting that... But you think Rishi is better than Liz Truss?
Yeah, well, who isn't? I mean, you would be better than Liz Truss.
Where would Liz Truss be on the as a football team? How would you compare her to?
I don't know any football team that has lasted 44 days.
Right, OK. But whereas Sunak's more like your kind of Yeovil town.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'd say he's more bland than that. He's kind of blandly effective. He'd be like Arsenal.
OK. Well, look, apparently that's controversial, but luckily I don't know anything about football, so now I'm sure you don't know anything about British politics.
This is too complex for me.
Yeah.
Red wall, blue wall, stone wall, wall of Hadrian. It's just a lot of walls.
It's a lot of walls.
I tried to open the article. There was a paywall. I couldn't.
Yeah, exactly. In that case, we can let you off the hook. Yeah, I just don't know what's going to... I don't think the Tories... I think it's going to be Starmer next time, clearly.
I think what actually is happening is that we have a political system that is not fit for purpose. Neither of these political parties actually represent the average voter.
Well, then what about proportional representation coming in? What about the idea that we can have these smaller parties? Why don't we break the two-party system?
I completely agree with you. I think that's actually what needs to happen because most people are looking at these parties and going, well, the Tories have been objectively rubbish if you've looked at everything that they've brought in and the chaos this country has sunk to under their rule. And then you look at Starmer and then he's asked a question like, what is a woman, that he can't even answer. And he's like, well, if you don't understand basic biology, how are you going to sort out the economics?
I saw that clip, deer in headlights.
Yeah. He was absolutely terrified.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the point.
Let me get this very straight.
Tobias, the way you need to understand British politics is we've basically got a Conservative Party that is in no way Conservative. We've got a Labour Party that doesn't care about working people. No. We've got a Liberal Democrat Party that isn't liberal or democratic, for that matter. So no one really is doing what says on the tin, and that's the problem. You know, in fact, the Labour Party, I mean, Starmer has completely failed to support working people. When they went out on the strike, he was saying, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I agree with you. I think if parties like the SDP will be able to get a shot, but they can only get a shot if we break the current first-past-the-post system, surely.
Yeah, and I think that what we need as well are these smaller parties, both on right and left, to actually genuinely hold the bigger parties' feet to the fire to ensure that they actually do something. Because the only way they're going to be motivated to do something is if they know that they're going to lose seats during the general election, then they're going to be motivated. Otherwise, we're just going to carry on with this absolute shower where nothing seems to be happening. Every politician is interchangeable, and we don't get, in many ways, real democracy.
Are you still talking about West Ham now?
Yeah, pretty much.
Tobias, do Swedish politicians know what a woman is?
Most of them do. I'm not sure everyone can say it out loud. It's the same sort of thing.
Same sort of thing,
People pretend that it's a very complex question, and who could possibly say what a woman is?
Yeah, it's really not that complex, is it? OK, well, let's move on to a question now from John. Where is John? Hello, John.
Good evening. Does an organiser being charged with fraud hurt the Black Lives Matter movement?
Yeah, this is a Black Lives Matter organiser charged with fraud over a fundraiser which has links to the campaigning group. And this is Zara Salim, who's going to appear before magistrates in January, charged with 2 counts of fraud by abuse of position of trust. The charges follow an investigation into a BLM fundraising page, which was for the demonstration that ended in the toppling of Edward Colston's statue in 2020. Now, we've seen this before. There's been some sort of dodgy characters within BLM. And there was the woman who basically bought a massive... was it a beach house in Malibu or something?
They all got
something
mansions,
like that. They got mansions. And
support the working man, and they're sitting there with 7 swimming pools. And
so that kind of undermines their Marxist credentials, at least.
Yeah, exactly, So she's been lying. Yeah, Black Lives Matter.
But do you think that, was this intentional? Was this... I mean, people gave money...
I'm sure it was,
feeling that this was a cause that they supported and that, that they cared about.
But she's quite young, right? She's 22, so maybe she's just bad at maths or something.
Well, you think that's all it is? Benefit of the doubt. Do you think that's right? Maybe it's a mistake?
I think it's actually very sad because obviously with the murder of George Floyd, tensions were very, very high. And then Black Lives Matter came in. And then
people got carried away. And a lot of it was due to the pandemic, actually.
Yes.
Because if you think about the Black Lives Matter demonstrations, what happened a week before is that people actually forget that, but literally a week before, people were ready to kill Dominic Cummings. In many ways,
right.
the biggest supporter of BLM was Dominic Cummings because he actually saved his life. But if you think about it, you know, people with BLM is that what they said and what they actually were two different things. Like people say that they said Black Lives Matter, and of course Black Lives